Okay, so let's wave a wand, Jeff Passan, and say they come together. They figure this out, that they're smart people.
Hallelujah.
Okay, then hallelujah. I don't want to give away all the goods in your article, and clearly that's impossible since it was so in depth, and we have about 10 minutes time remaining here if we can get through everything. But here's the deal: I'd love for you to lay out what a major leaguer would go through waking up on a game day in a 2020 Major League Baseball season during these unique times.
I was going to say, unique is certainly the right way to explain it. And as I was going through the protocol for the first time, there was just so much information. I'm like, how the hell am I going to lay this out there in a fashion that is not completely boring? And it occurred to me, let's look at what the day of a player is going to be like and see how many of these different rules affect him. And it's like every single thing I came across, I was putting it in that section of my outline. I was like, okay, going to start, and you wake up and you take your temperature. And then you take your temperature again. By the way, under this protocol, every single person in Major League Baseball will be getting their own temperature. If you don't have a fever over 100 degrees, okay, you get to go to the stadium. But if you're on the road, no taking an Uber, not allowed to take Ubers. You get to the stadium, you have your own special entry. You better be wearing a mask, because the only place that you can't wear a mask is on the field, or if you're lifting weights or doing something strenuous. You walk in the stadium, temperature taken again. You go into the clubhouse, but it's not really a clubhouse because there aren't many guys in there, and you got to socially distance 6 feet. Go out to the field. Most of the batting practice is out on the field because they don't want you using indoor cages very much. You got to, again, practice social distancing. There's no hot tubs. There's no cold tubs. When you're out on the field for game time, for example, no lineup card exchanged. If you're not playing in the game, you're going to be sitting in the stands. 4 seats between you and a fellow player, 2 rows between you and anybody else. During the game, they have asked for you not to be close to guys unless the ball is close to them as well. So socially distanced during the game. After the game, we'd prefer if you didn't take a shower. That's actually the one, Rich, that angers the players the most. The lack of showers after the game will not stand. And it goes beyond that. There's not going to be any buffets. It's going to be all prepackaged meals. You get back to the hotel if you're on the road. You're not going to be able to leave. It's just a lot for players to handle. It's nothing totally beyond the pale. It's nothing that they can't handle. It's just a ton for guys who are so used to being the same to have to change.
What about testing?
Testing's going to be fine. I mean, you're going to be tested a few times a week. They're going to have a lab out in Utah that does the testing. I don't know if you saw the story in the Washington Post today, Rich, but testing, listen, it's taken months, but we are now at a point where an abundance of tests exist, and some states are actually have more tests than they need. So Major League Baseball played the testing thing right. There's been the whole thing at the beginning with the NBA when frontline workers couldn't get tests, but NBA teams could. That's not the case anymore. And so I think the testing part, frankly, is what's going to allow this to happen. The fact that Major League Baseball has the ability to process more than 10,000 tests a week, which is a lot of testing that's being done.
So how often will players get tested, Jeff? I mean, and where? Where? At the clubhouse door or at the stadium door?
Yeah, it's going to be at the stadium. It's going to be a saliva test that gets taken and sent to a lab in Utah, and you will have the results within 24 hours. If there are players who are showing signs and or symptoms, whether it is fever, cough, or otherwise, they have what's called point-of-contact tests, which are essentially rapid tests that return results within 15 minutes. And while that person is test results, his or her test results are awaiting, the person will stay in a specifically designed containment area that every stadium will have for cases like that. I'm telling you, Rich, like, the plan's thorough. It has some gaps in it, no question, but the amount of time and care that was put into it is actually really impressive. And the most interesting part to me, Rich, isn't just that this is baseball. This is the sort of thing that America is going to be going through in the next few months as we reopen. And other workplaces are going to have the same thing. So as crazy as this seems, as daunting as it is to follow some of these rules, this is more, I think, the reality going forward than otherwise.
Hey, Jeff, I was saying before, sports is really what I think crystallized for the country at large.
100%.
Sports is exactly what crystallized the country at large about having to shelter in place. I mean, when the NBA shut down, March Madness was was ended, and so this could be a way to lead. To show how businesses can reopen and how we as a country need to realize that, again, even though it feels permanent, this is still something that is just temporary. And the faster that we could figure out how to live in the temporary, the quicker we can get to this being permanently handled. I totally get that. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.